Thanks for joining me for this episode of the Church Security Answer Man. I am so glad, as usual, that you're joining me for this episode. And today, I've got some actual training for you. This is something that you can document. I'm going to talk to you later in this training about how to document that so you can put it in a file and help limit your liability and help get you better prepared. We're talking about de-escalation and defusing of dangerous, difficult people in church security. So getting us more prepared for better communication. So as we get started, this episode is sponsored by our very own Armed Church Security Certificate course. It's a basic course, great information. Now, this course isn't designed to make you a shooting expert. That kind of stuff you've got to do more in the field, hands-on kind of thing. But this is made to help you get more on the page of how do I do church security? What are some things to look for? And I'm going to give you those insights based on my experience and my dealing with other groups, other church security groups as well. So I give you lots of insight in this, and it's a great course to have your other teammates take as well on their own. Everybody can sign up for it, and at the end you get a certificate for it. So it's a great starter course or a great refresher course for you as well. So if you haven't had some training along those lines, or maybe you've been doing it without training, go check out that course. You find it at churchsecurityanswerman.com, and just look for the training courses in the upper menu. Look for that word in the menu and look through those training courses. You will find that Armed Church Security Basic Certification course. So now let's get started with our training. And I want to talk to you about starting with de-escalation. And we're going to talk about a little bit more long-term, just overall, and then we'll get to this crisis point. If you had somebody that had a weapon or was holding somebody hostage, those kind of things. How can we do that, and how can we attempt to communicate with them in a short amount of time? The first thing I want to point out to you, I'm going to go to another little course that I teach for a moment to talk about how do we influence the communication process in the best way, or what tool can we use to best influence the communication process. I'm citing a Psychology Today study that was done. I just like the way it was done. There's all kinds of studies out there on this communication influence, but I like the way they conducted their study. And they told us that words really don't have a lot of meaning. They have some, but they came in at 7% in this study. I haven't seen a study that lists them at over 10%. And then you look at, here's one of the important things that I want to point out to you, because we don't use it enough. And that's our tone. Our tone can be a huge influence in the communication process. And this study came in at 38% of the communication influence. And, so just changing your tone a little bit when you talk to people can mean so much. I can say the word wow, and it just means, hey, I'm listening to you, and I'm kind of heard what you said. But if I add some tone to it, wow, that starts to mean, hey, I'm listening, I'm tracking you. Now maybe I'm understanding, maybe I'm empathetic. I feel you, I'm listening. It means so much more. And then you look at the third aspect, and that's the most, is the nonverbal stuff, and coming in at 55%. So when you talk about influencing people, and the nonverbal, by the way, is very hard for us to control ourselves. If we have a certain feeling, feel a certain way, very hard to control that. So I really wanted to point out to you that tone, because it becomes very important when we talk about de-escalation and diffusing. So let's talk about that now. There's really 5 components that I want to mention to you. Those are the undivided attention, being non-judgmental, focusing on feelings, using silence, and clarifying their message. And these, at least a couple of these, are very powerful that I want to explain to you. So if we look at undivided attention first, that means we're looking at these folks. We're paying attention. We're not doing other things. So when we go into communication mode with a difficult person, let's say, and that's really the level I'm talking about, a difficult to an excited person, an upset person. And we're going to talk about the dangerous person here in just a moment. And so we're looking at them, we're focused, our attention is not divided, and we're really paying attention to what they're saying. We're maybe even nodding our head. That would really also help. The eye contact and nodding our head would really help convey that we are paying attention to them. So, you know, and you want to think about what does distract you, or what would distract you under a little bit of pressure in your church lobby or somewhere else within the church. What would be distracting to you? And try not to be distracted and focus on them in this process. So next we move to being non-judgmental. And, you know, and Stephen Covey described that as looking at the weakness of others with compassion, not accusation. And sometimes I'll have to admit that sometimes that's not easy for me to do, but whether they have drug issues, anger issues, emotional, whatever that is, it's setting that aside and really being, compassionate for them at the moment. And I think most of you are probably good at that. I mean, we tend to be better at that as members of a church, as Bible believers and God-fearing people, however you want to term us. We are more compassionate type people, or we should be. We can move into that, I think. And so, you know, we look at them understanding, and you want to try to develop an understanding, you know, it's sin, it's bad choices, however you want to look at that. But getting ourselves into that position, if possible, to communicate with them better and help de-escalate, defuse that situation is very important. And next we go to focusing on feelings. And this is not an easy area. It's not an easy area. In training all the time, when I'm training different audiences, from police officers to church security to others in a difficult government or office setting, even when they're dealing with dangerous, difficult people, you know, it's really hard at this point for me to convey how important getting comfortable with talking about feelings is. Because in the next little segment, the dangerous stuff, when we've got to diffuse very, very quickly, it's very important to talk about feelings. So we need to be able to say, you seem angry, with a little bit of tone. You seem upset. And, you know, it's not comfortable for us, and we know it's going to draw this person out. And I can tell you from experience as a crisis negotiator in law enforcement, dealing with difficult people, when you bring up someone's feelings for a moment, they get a little bit worse. And then their feelings will come, they'll begin to deflate a little bit, diffuse a little bit, and begin to talk a little bit more normal with you as they begin to release some of that tension and stress inside of them. So, but I strongly suggest to you that getting comfortable with this, and it's going to get even worse in the next segment when I stress that, or I'm going to stress it even more, it becomes very, very important to focus on their feelings. Next, don't be afraid of silence. Make comments to them, ask them clarifying questions, which we're going to talk about. If you bring up their emotions, their feelings, you seem angry, be ready to be silent. Let them talk. Let them release that negative stuff and get it out and be able to, lighten their load a little bit. Somebody to listen to them is a powerful tool if you can listen to them for just a few minutes. It's your friend, and let that silence just fill the air, and they'll begin to talk if they're not talking, or they'll talk more to you, and it really helps them vent. And then the last thing for de-escalation is clarifying their messages. And you know what's really being said, asking a quick question. Think about how powerful that is. If I'm listening to you, if I let you open up and I'm listening to you, and by the way, why is that such a powerful thing? Listening to someone, oftentimes these people who are stressed and full of tension, they may have been whiners and complainers for a long time. They're upset about stuff, and people don't listen to them. Think about that. If you know a whiner and a complainer, you tend to avoid them. I'm going to avoid that person. So they oftentimes, the older they get, they don't have a lot of people that want to listen to them. And all of a sudden, if you're willing to listen to them, engage them in this idea of identifying that you see their emotions, you listen to them, you give them silence, you use a little bit of tone, boy, that is a big deal. And and I forgot to mention, saying things like, I've got a little phrase that I use and have used in my law enforcement career and stuff. If I was listening to someone and they were getting rid of some of their emotions and just kind of letting it go. And all of a sudden they stop for a minute, try to collect their thoughts. I would say to them, go ahead, I'm listening to you. Go ahead, I'm listening. And I want to ask you, how powerful do you think that is? And, how long are they going to remember you for that? And how powerful is that when you really put some tone into that and it's a heartfelt, I'm listening to you. And it just lets them unload more. And that is a huge deal to people. You and I also, when we're upset or stressed with people, or stressed with a circumstance, we like somebody to listen to us. And so that we can diffuse and let that go and have somebody bounce some stuff off of somebody. It's very important. So if that's you doing that to a difficult person that walks into the church lobby or somebody who's really upset, that is a great tool for you. And don't forget, it works right into our church mission where we're ministering to people and, we're supposed to be good communicators with them and welcoming to them and understanding of their circumstances and situation. Boy, this, besides the security aspect, it's a great tool for ministering and being a good testimony for the church as well. And then ask clarifying questions. That is a huge deal. And just asking a simple, just a little clarification with some tone. And after somebody makes some statements to you, clarifying what's being said in a simple manner like, are you saying that this situation is what made you angry? Are you saying this? Is this what I'm understanding? With that tone, and boy, what does that say? It says, I was listening, I heard what you said, I'm interested to make sure I got the right message. And then your tone adds understanding, empathy. It just becomes a powerful and what I call synergistic, just a huge, great tool for somebody, great experience for them if you are willing to do that. So, hey, now that we're talking, I want to make sure I mention we're going to go into defusing or de-escalation in under 1 minute. And I want to make sure and mention that to document this, and then I've got another great tip. I've actually got a freebie for you, a great free tip for you, and coming up. But first, to make this a training, and hear me out, watch the rest of this video because I want to put this all together for you right at the end, how this can become a great training event for you and document it. So here, I want to make sure and mention that you can get a free training documentation form if you go over to our site, churchsecurityanswerman.com, look over at the free media and forms, look for that on the menu, free media and forms, and go download, just look at that section and go download the training form. And find that training form on there. You put in your email address. That's the simplest way that I've got to send it to you. You are subscribing to updates and things that we might send you. We send you a few for a couple of weeks and then, or about 3 weeks, and then we don't send you a bunch of other stuff. So basically, and then you can unsubscribe if you want. But that's the easiest way for me to get you that form. And now you can write in there that you did this de-escalation training. And I'm going to give you something here coming up in a minute to some freebie stuff, but that enhances this training. And now you can begin to write down. For right now, we're going to spend, I'm estimating, this is going to be a 20-minute training. 10, 15, 20 minutes is what it's going to take. And document that on that form and then put it in a file that you had some de-escalation training. And then share this with your other teammates. It's free. So share this video with your teammates. Let them come over and do some de-escalation training. And then share the form. Everybody gets their own form, however you want to do it. And then put it into the file at church to help limit your liability. Help improve your communication with difficult and dangerous people, but also document it so that it helps limit the church's liability, and put it in a file at the church. Put a copy in your own personal file as well. So now let's go to the next step, and then we're going to get to that freebie stuff here coming up. De-escalation in under 1 minute. So I want to talk to you just briefly about if this is a crisis or you really need to take care of this, so somebody's just way out of control or they've got a weapon. and you're trying to deal with this, or they're holding somebody against their will, whatever that looks like in your church lobby, in a room in your church, I don't care what that scene looks like, but you need to de-escalate this, diffuse it in under 1 minute. So how do we do that? Here's how we do that. We look at those same components. So undivided attention, focus on feelings, clarifying their messages. Those become the three important. And then there's the I messages that we'll talk about. So back to undivided attention. And add to that, as you're thinking about this, practicing, we're making eye contact, we're nodding our head as they talk. And then add to that, a wow. And that, again, with some tone, good tone. That tells them you're listening, you're nodding your head, you're looking, wow. And you're using tone that says maybe, hey, I'm understanding. Wow, that sounds tough, empathetic, all of those good things. And the more you can pour on the tone, the better. And then the focusing on the feelings. Now, let's talk about that again, because I'm serious about that. We tend to not be comfortable with that. But I want to make sure you know that that is important for you and I to practice and get more comfortable with, because if you got to de-escalate somebody quickly, you need that. You need to be able to mention their feelings and let them release. And I'm telling you that from experience as a negotiator with people, as a crisis negotiator. It's important for us to be able to talk about and let them release those feelings. And it also says, you're tracking them, you're paying attention, you heard them, and you're understanding, sympathetic, and when you use that tone and identify those feelings, and it's just a release for them of the floodgates. And again, they're going to bark a little bit at you for real quick time, and then they're going to begin to release that information. So it is very important for us to get comfortable with that, focusing on those feelings. So very important. Then clarifying those messages. She makes you angry. So you're saying that she makes you angry, or this made you angry. Clarification, and again, if I can use some tone. So you're telling me this made you angry. This made you upset. So again, we're understanding, we're using some tone. And then don't be afraid. I messages, there's all kinds of different things we could say about I messages. But the important thing is it doesn't hurt for you to share. If it's upsetting you that somebody's angry, yelling, or if it's disturbing everybody, it doesn't hurt with a little bit of tone to share with them. Hey, this is scaring my people. This is scaring the families here. Let's not yell. It's upsetting me. It's scaring me. I would appreciate it if you did not yell. And it's harder for us to communicate when you're yelling as well. So little things like that. And being ready to pour on the tone. Now, honestly, being able to pour on the tone, being able to discuss feelings is so important. Here is one thing I want to mention here, and I'm not into the scary stuff or whatever, talking about that kind of junk. But I do want to mention, typically when we're under pressure, like somebody's holding a gun to us, somebody's threatening to kill someone, we tend to statistically beg for our lives. We'll say something like, please don't, I have kids. Please don't, she has kids. She's young. And I want to point out to you, what is the last person or the last thing this person cares about right now? And that is you or the person they're holding hostage or that they're threatening or holding against their will. That's the last person they care about. They don't care that you have kids. They're already disregarding your human nature and your value. So it's important for us to let them release their feelings. What they care about is their life, their feelings, their situation. So, and they want to be heard. Again, goes back to not too many people are probably listening to them for whatever reason. So when you start listening, when you begin to talk about their feelings and you let them release that, which can be a little bit shocking at first, but it begins to de-escalate and diffuse them. And I'm telling you, you can read it in the books, and it's great information, but I can tell you from real life, from just a few situations, it works. very well. This stuff that we're talking about here works very well. Now, before you leave, let me give you one other. This is free information, and this is good stuff that I want to talk to you about. You can go to, you can use the links down below. I've got links for you. You can click on the links and go to Audible. They have an Audible Plus for free. It's a free trial. The last time I looked, free trial. Or you can go to Kindle Unlimited. They have a free trial for their membership. You can go there and look for this book. And here's the cool thing. I'm recommending this book to you to add to this training. And so what I'm trying to put together for you is a training package that is self-administered. You listen to me for however many minutes we took here, document that, and then go listen to this book. And I'm not telling you something that's going to cost you a bunch of money. You can join this through our link below, our affiliate link down below, and either one of those, and get this book, Mindful Communication for Dealing with Difficult People. It's by Andrew Brown. And with that, starting a trial with the Audible or the Amazon or the Kindle Unlimited with a free trial, I believe as of the time of this recording, you can get a free month or free trial, and you can get a free download, which would include this mindful communication for dealing with difficult people. So, and then listen to this and or read it if you get the readable version, but listen to it on Audible and document that as training time as well on the training form you got from the website, the free form that you got. And now you've put together with this discussion, with this free Audible download, it should be free at the time of this recording, it is. Put that together and now you probably have 2, 3, 4 hours worth of training, depending on how long it takes you to get through this mindful communication for dealing with difficult people. And so now you have a great training package to help you, help your team, and recommend this to your team so everybody gets some training, and you can share the form, the training form, when you get to church, or everybody downloads one and then put it in the church file to help you limit your liability. I am so glad you're attending this with me, listening to this discussion. I'm excited about this one because it gives you some free training stuff. And I'm happy to do it. I enjoy this, spending time with you. Don't forget, as always, our hub of information and free stuff and training courses that we recommend is at churchsecurityanswerman.com. Go over there and check it out. Take a look at it, and that's where we can connect as well. Leave me a comment. Or send me an email. I love the comments and I love to interact, and I'll send you a comment back if at all possible. I'm always on here trying to respond to people's comments and stuff because I enjoy listening and I want to hear what you have to say and what you have going on. So thanks again for joining me, and I hope you have a safe and secure week.